Hiya, I'm Ren from one of Zod's failed AI music groups, Beanie Towns Marty. Tonight is episode 112 of Late Night Q&A, and Zod has the honor of welcoming TheCurlyRay to his panel. In honor of that, I'm going to grace you all with my band's version of the Twilight Zone, since nobody is watching it on YouTube. Enjoy it. Don't? I don't care. By the way, those Rebel Moon director's cuts are the shit. Papao.
Sirens in my head, my whole life spins into a frenzy. Somewhere in a lonely hotel room, there's a guy starting to realize that eternal fate has turned its back on him. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. The fear has gone. It's 2 a.m. The fear has gone. I'm sitting here waiting, the gun's still warm. I'm sitting here waiting, the gun's still warm. Maybe my connection is tired of taking chances. Yeah, there's a storm on the loose, sirens in my head. Wrapped up in silence, all circuits are dead. Cannot be gone, my whole life spins into a frenzy. Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My victim's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My victim's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. I'm falling down the spiral, destination unknown. Double cross messenger all alone. Can't get no connection, can't get through. Where are you? Well, the night weighs heavy on his guilty mind. This far from the borderline. When the hitman comes, he knows damn well he has been cheated. And he says, help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My victim's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My victim's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. When the bullet hits the bone. Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the wall.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's episode of Late Night Q&A. I am ZodWriter. I want to thank Ren from Benny Towns Marty for doing the introduction for this stream and, presenting Twilight Zone. Sometimes I feel like we are living in the Twilight Zone. Welcome, the Curly Ray, to tonight's episode of Late Night Q&A. It's great to have you here. You are appropriately dressed, as you are a combination of Jimmy and Ben Affleck's Batman. And I don't think it gets any better than that. That's awesome.
Konnichiwa, ZodWriter.
Konnichiwa.
Yeah, man, I'm very excited to be here tonight. What a wonderful intro that was. I was in here in the background jamming out, and I'm very excited to I'm really excited for this night, man. How's your night so far, ZodWriter?
Well, so far so good. Like I've said, I've been very very busy working on the One Punch Stand movie, which we will talk a little bit about tonight. I have some special things to share with the audience tonight. So there's definitely a lot to talk about, and from your experience, I guess the first question that I have for you, Curly Ray, is what is it that compelled you to want to dress up in the manner that you do? Like, what made you want to become a cosplayer?
Well, I think originally, about 3 years ago, this was during the pandemic. I went over to this convention with me and my family, and originally it was at this hotel because we were originally supposed to be going to like a water park. That was at that exact location, and there was this convention going on, and we had zero idea that was going on, zero idea, and we were just driving around, and I was just seeing all these people dressing up. I was like, why is everyone dressing up? Is there like a play going on? And we just kind of like kept driving around and around the building. And that was when we discovered there was a Comic-Con going on there. I was like, oh my goodness, I want to go in there. So I went in there, and I got to meet lots of people. I actually when I first went in there, I kind of like looked around, checked out everything, because they had all this stuff, this merch on sale, and I eventually went to go see who was all there. And the first actor I got to meet up there, like voice actor wise, was Monica Riley, or Ryle, I think. If I pronounced her last name wrong, I very apologize. But she, for you guys that may not know who she is the English dubbed voice actor for Bulma from Dragon Ball Super. Next up, I got to meet the voice actor. I forgot his name, but I met up with the voice actor for General Grievous and the Battle Droids from Star Wars. Now, when it comes to me cosplaying, the whole time I was there, I was seeing everyone dressing up, and I was like, man, I wanted to dress up too, So it was about a few months after that convention where I started the convention I went to after that was where when I started cosplaying. I started cosplaying as Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! And John said that Matthew Russell Wood is the voice of General Grievous. Thank you very much, John. Very appreciated, man. And, throughout the years, that's what really, got me to want to participate in, doing cosplay. Now, when it comes to me, showing off my outfits on social media, I think one of the major things was that, we had Rebel Moon coming out, and we had, you know, there was a few other conventions I've been to. And, what I was kind of thinking about, there was one convention which I did end up going to, which was the one in New Orleans this year, which is where I got to meet Sofia Boutella. I originally didn't plan to go over there, but then as soon as Rebel Moon was about to come out in December, which was Rebel Moon Part 1 of Child of Fire, I was just thinking about, I was just, doing what I always do, just, show Netflix's engagement and show engagement for Zack Snyder's projects. And I was thinking, I was like, wait, oh my gosh, I just got a brilliant idea. And that idea was for me to start dressing up as Jimmy for Rebel Moon. That way, because not only did I want to do it because I loved Jimmy so much as a character in the film, but me doing this also, gets everyone introduced into Rebel Moon. It gets everyone excited to this stuff, and this even shows engagement for that. So, whenever I'm out here cosplaying, whether if it's Jimmy, if it's Batman, if it's Darkseid, if it's, Gohan from Dragon Ball Z, if it's Goku, or is it Kaiba, you name it. People see, they like the stuff that I do. And then when they come across me, dressing up as Jimmy, that shows out a lot of engagement. And outside of that, me doing this stuff and me going to these places, you get to meet a lot of new friends, you get to meet new people, you get to go out in the real world, which is exactly what I've been doing. Because, throughout on social media, I met a lot of great friends along the way. I've met up with John. I've met up with a lot of, you know, I've gotten a chance to, talk to some voice actors, not like talk like directly, but I'll usually see them in the timeline. I've always replied to their post, and just building up that bond and engagement, and I think that's what really built me out to be the cosplayer that I am today. So you know I'm still here, cosplaying. As you can see right here, I'm cosplaying as Jimmy with the Ben Affleck Batman suit on because Jimmy is the Batman of the Rebel Moon universe. There's a lot of things he does with fight choreography. Oh snap! And then,
Don't lose your antlers now.
yeah, I can't lose those. Well, actually, I will be using them later on, if you know what I mean. But
Oh, okay.
chow, 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 chow. And then, I'll be out in the distance, you know, watching over everyone, which is what I did at the Egyptian theater. I was there at the Egyptian theater.
Now, wait a minute. Now, before you talk about your Egyptian theater experience, I just want to read this comment by Qatar here. He says Rebel Moon is still trending for an R-rated movie. That's quite an achievement, and it really is because R-rated movies, there's kind of a shelf life as far as trending and stuff like that goes. So that is good stuff. That is good news, and I just wanted to read that comment. But now I do really want to get into your experience at the Egyptian theater because you were obviously dressed as Jimmy in that experience, correct?
Yes, I sure was. Now, if you guys don't get the joke, I actually was not there, but the point to the joke is that I am dressed up as Jimmy, and they were showing Rebel Moon there as that has Jimmy in the movie. So technically speaking, I was there in spirit. I was just
Well, there you go.
I was just on top of the buildings, watching over everybody while they're getting their autographs signed by Zack Snyder himself, and even Skywalker the Jedi and Leon the New Geeks, going on stream, even telling people what their experiences was about Rebel Moon. And, even watching over Brett Colbert. Because, man, I got to say, shout out to Brett Colbert. He is such a cool guy, dude.
Absolutely. Yes.
So there is one question I do have for you, ZodWriter. What inspired you to become a writer and a filmmaker?
Well, for me personally, I've always wanted to write. I've always written, which is why I call myself ZodWriter. It's a thing that I love doing. But as far as being a filmmaker, One Punch Dan, it will be my feature film debut as a writer, producer, director, all of that. And I was mainly inspired to do this, to make this movie as a result of quite a few things. One was because of all of the problems and issues that I ran into with my book about the Snyderverse fandom and the behind the scenes drama at Warner Brothers, Pause Not Stopped. Due to that book being shelved for various reasons, I decided that I wanted to do something else for the community, but something that would challenge me creatively, as well as allow me to, again, give back to the community, celebrate my friends and people I know in the community, and most importantly, to carry on Mikey Sutton's legacy. Now, those are the main reasons. But you see, Bad Dan here has the essentially the genesis as to why the One Punch Dan movie is actually happening. And he says here, because I joked about punching Karens. Now, and that's and that's really how it started. I mean, when I go into talking about the One Punch Dan movie and all the behind the scenes little featurettes and stuff, I'm going to have to mention the fact that, yes, One Punch Dan was created by myself, Bat Dan, Sin Havoc, Just Josh, Josh Herrera, because it was all part of a joke. It was all part of a joke that happened on one of Bat Dan's live streams about Bat Dan punching Karens. And I was looking for a project that I could do that would again challenge me creatively, while at the same time, allow me to do everything that I wanted to do as a writer, and also, all the other reasons I mentioned. And so when I thought about the joke of, the One Punch Dan idea, okay, I realized I could take One Punch Dan and I could make it a serious story. I could make it into a comic book movie. Not only a comic book movie, I could create a cinematic universe based on this, where it just started as a joke. And like I told you, backstage before we started the show, I'm going to not only are there plans for a One Punch Dan trilogy? And believe me, there is plans for a trilogy, because I have 2 and 3 of One Punch Dan already completely written, almost completed scripts. I've got those movies. I'll be able to do those movies. I know exactly what I'm doing for all 3 One Punch Dan movies, and I have 2 TV show ideas that I'm going to do that are going to be included in the One Punch Dan universe so far. And that's just getting started, okay? So that's 5 projects just out of the gate, all off of a joke. all off of a joke. And also, I have to say this because DC is in such terrible shape right now. Unfortunately, as you know, Curly Ray, with DC being in such crap shape that it's in, we as fans need something else that we can rally behind. We need something good that we can enjoy, something else that we can that's not Marvel, okay? Because, God love all these Marvel fans. God love all these Marvel fanboys and everybody gushing over Deadpool and Wolverine. We all did it. We all thought it was great, yada yada yada, but here's the thing. We got to have something else. We got to have something else to rally behind that's a little more serious, a little more interesting, and a little more entertaining. And I think that's going to be One Punch Dan. Because here's the thing, One Punch Dan won't be all seriousness. It won't be all the world is ending type of stuff. But the thing is, there's a lot of serious topics, but then there's also some comedy. There's going to be some comedy in it. There's going to be some comedic characters, as you're going to see. Because tonight I'm going to show a teaser trailer for a character that is very comic relief, kind of, and he's kind of a comedy like character. And Sin Havoc here says, a creation of ours and a joke. And for the record, One Punch Dan was the name I gave Bat Dan. One Punch Dan. Yes, exactly. And you are credited as one of the creators, Sin Havoc. I did not forget. You are credited as one of the creators as well. Everyone, you see, that's the thing. Everybody that was there during that scenario with that joke, we were all in on, are all credited as creators of One Punch Dan. And it's like Sin Havoc is actually in the movie as a character as well. He has a very important role in the movie. But yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. And Future Tron is asking, did you see the BS about the Army of the Dead franchise? And I was going to ask you about this, given the big fan that you are, a Curly Ray or the Curly Ray. First of all, what do you prefer being called? The Curly Ray or a Curly Ray?
The Curly Ray.
Okay, well, I figured because your YouTube channel is the only place where it's a Curly Ray is on Twitter, right? Or is that?
I believe I changed. I think I just now changed it to the Curly Ray.
Okay,
it was
good.
a Curly Ray before. It's all cool. Anyone can call me a Curly Ray or the Curly Ray. To me, it doesn't really matter.
That's why, like, even on here, I got you as the Curly Ray because I thought that was what you preferred. So I wanted to make sure, and you seem, and yeah, so that's cool. But what did you think? Did you see the crap on social media about the Army of the Dead franchise being canceled by Netflix? I don't believe it. I think it's BS. But I did see it, and I think it's all part of the smear campaign against Zack Snyder. So I wanted to get your view on this.
Well, the thing that I noticed when this got dropped is, there were other things. Because when I saw this, the one thing I always do is you gotta watch the timing when all these articles drop. Okay, I think I just had a voice crack right there, but when this came out, immediately after a certain account or article was showing that the viewing numbers were low for the Rebel Mode director's cuts, and then I feel like they may have tried to use this as a way to say, hey, they're going to cancel Army of the Dead to focus more on Rebel Moon. But here's the thing about it. ZodWriter, do you remember, and I want you to answer this for me, okay? Was there a Army of the Dead board game that was just announced 1 week ago?
Yeah, I saw pictures of it.
Absolutely. Why would Netflix want to cancel out a franchise when they just released merchandise or a board game?
Well, I mean, I can answer that. If they really did decide to cancel it, you got to remember a lot of these like tie-ins, like board games and toys and all that kind of stuff. All those deals were made a long time ago. So a lot of that stuff could just be coming out now and would literally have no bearing whatsoever on whether or not, they decide to cancel going forward. But I just don't see them doing that because Rebel Moon has been extremely successful. And from what we can tell, Zack is kind of tying all his stuff together in a sense. So the Army of the Dead portion could all be tied in with Rebel Moon at some point too. So my thing is, I just think that that's BS because there's a reason why they called that big event that they just had Worlds of Zack Snyder. It's a big thing. It truly is the Snyderverse, right? So you wouldn't.
Yep.
So I just can't see Netflix doing that. They have a great working relationship with Zack. The fans are rabid diehard. We're all rabid diehard Snyder fans. I don't think that they would get rid of the Army of the Dead universe.
Yeah, they did. They definitely look. Army of the Dead is not going anywhere. Okay, and here's the other thing about it. You were just talking about how they're connecting Army of the Dead to Rebel Moon. Not only that, they're connecting Twilight of the Gods to Rebel Moon
Mm-hmm.
because the Cowleys is what actually allows people to travel to other parts of the galaxy or possibly multiverses. And here's a theory I do have, and this is something I thought of. We were talking about how this next Army of Dead movie is going to be Planet of the Dead. Okay? Planet of the Dead. Planet of the Dead. Think about that. Think of if they cross in Rebel Moon with Army of the Dead. We could have a set of Motherworld soldiers or any kind of squad or squadron with their laser guns trying to survive a whole planet of zombies. Now, this kind of reminds me of like what made me think about this was I believe it was an episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars where they had General Krell and they had, all the clones fighting against each other because, General Krell was having all the clones fight against each other when not even knowing it. And to me, with, the whole squadron like that, I was thinking, what if they're going to have some kind of crossover? Like if they bring in like some characters from the Rebel universe have to crash land on a planet to survive from being killed by a whole lot of zombies. Just think about that, Zod. It's just the ideas and what this universe could be. This Earth can be a completely different planet than it is right now. Army of the Dead could be set in a well, I know
I kind of feel like Rebel Moon is in the future and Army of the Dead is in the past or modern era, right? So it could be that something that happens in the Army of the Dead universe is essentially the catalyst for what happens for some of the things that happen in the future, going all the way into the Rebel Moon universe. Unless what happens in Rebel Moon is essentially like a galaxy a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. See, there's so many different ways we can look at all of this, right? I mean, but that's why I just don't see it happening. I don't see Netflix just cutting ties with Zack on a big, again, original IP that they're able to do what they want. It's like me and Sin Havoc are always saying, original IP is the key, right? It's an original IP. So so why would you dump an original IP that is very, very profitable? You have a director that's very, very hot right now that's working under you, making good on his commitment to you with all of his movie projects, and he's making Netflix a lot of money with Rebel Moon and with everything he's doing. I just don't see it happening. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
And not only that, there's two things. Army of the Dead won an Oscar, or it won an award at the Oscars. Second, Army of the Dead, if I'm correct on this, is the 15th most. It's in the top 15 for the top 15 most watched Netflix original films on their platform
Of all time?
of all time.
Well, yeah. Well, see, yeah. I mean that there you go. That see, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I just think it's more campaign. It's more smear campaign BS against Snyder, and I'm so sick of it. And just like Bat Dan's pointing out here, these people are being true to themselves with their BS. Snyder fan groups on Facebook are running with this as gospel. Yeah, you're seeing the same, the usual suspects that take everything out of context. They see one article and they run with it like it's the truth. They don't really know what they're talking about. They just go off of the one article. And, I don't know. When I was in college and I took journalism, one of the things that I learned in journalism was you always have 3 or more sources. Before you start taking something seriously, you need at least 3 sources. These people just run with the first article out of the gate, whatever somebody says. It's like the first article, whatever it is, with no sources whatsoever. It's just some article, making all these bold claims. It's like, yeah, it's like nowadays anybody can claim anything that they want. There's no, fact checking be damned. There's no such thing as fact checking. There's no such thing as what's true, what's not true. Listen, we got Sin Havoc right here in the chat, and Sin Havoc will tell us if it's true or not. He knows it's not true. It's all BS. Yep. And that's the reality of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of seeing this. It's like we can never get Army of the Dead
right
theme
here,
at Six Flags.
Right there.
There you go.
Army of the Dead, Six Flags, right there.
We're always getting BS with Zack Snyder. Anytime we have any kind of a win or anything that's successful, you know how this works. The Curly Ray, we get something great coming from like Rebel Moon, and we're all hyped up over these wonderful director's cuts. And then we've always got to have somebody to come in and crap all over whatever it is that we like. And you know that too, because all of the negative articles for Rebel Moon dropped almost immediately once the movie was available on Netflix. Dropped immediately. They had their articles, their negative reviews
ready
written.
To go. They
didn't watch the movie.
12 a.m.
Yeah, because they didn't watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't watch the movies. They did not watch. You can't tell me that they actually sat there and watched, 6 hours worth of Zack Snyder material. Because I know they didn't get no free screenings. They didn't get no free screeners of the movie. They didn't have it early. So how the hell can you write a review about something that you haven't even watched?
It's simple. You're either getting paid, or you really hate Zack Snyder that much and you want his career to go to the ground, which ain't gonna happen. And here's the thing here, and this is for anybody. I'm pretty sure almost everyone in here, pretty much knows this, but this is for everyone that's, new to the platform and, it's your first time on here. Here's the thing. Okay, and this is what I have to say. Your opinion is the only opinion that matters the most. Okay? And nobody else's. So let's say if you prefer Butterfingers over Kit Kat, don't bother me. Let's say you prefer to go to McDonald's over Wendy's. Even though I think McDonald's is fake food, that's your opinion, bro. Ain't mine. See, if there's something that you like that I don't doesn't bother me. If there's something that I like that you don't, hey, that's no problem whatsoever. Because we live here in a free country where anyone can sleep wherever they want, eat wherever they want, drive whatever they want, play on whatever system they want, work wherever they want, send your kids to whichever school that you think is very more important to them. Just we live in the land of the free for a reason. Okay. So with that being said, about everything what I just said, it does not change the fact that these narratives, this hate towards Zack Snyder and his films is being manufactured. And not only about 99% of it is fake, it is strictly on the internet. And I know this for many reasons, okay? When I'm on the internet, when I'm watching some of these people do their negative reviews for, Zack Snyder's films or whatever, most of the time it'll either sound scripted or it'll act like that these people are playing as these characters. Okay. And what I don't know is I'm just curious which side of these guys are on. Are they, because here's what they could be doing, Zod. They could be grifting for entertainment. They could be getting paid loads of money to put out these kind of narratives when they don't even have an opinion at all. They could probably be getting paid hundreds, thousands, or millions of dollars to push out this stuff. Or if they're not, if they're not the following two, they're the third one. They really hate Zack Snyder that much and his fan base, and they want him to crumble to the ground. And it's so crazy because here's what people need to know about real life. Okay, there were YouTubers, and this goes outside the whole Zack Snyder situation. There used to be some YouTubers I used to watch, like gaming YouTubers. Okay. And I'm not saying that every YouTuber is like this. Okay. It's just some I think of it. There were these group of YouTubers I used to watch, and they would play games together. They started playing Mario Kart. And I'm not gonna name drop any YouTubers in this stream. I'm just letting y'all know I'm not name dropping anybody. But there was a group I used to watch. They were starting to play Mario Kart. Okay. One of them, when they started playing, they used to get all ragey and mad and curse and all that kind of stuff. So then one of them, they were doing a stream, and one of the guys said, I am only playing Mario Kart just because I'm getting so many views from it and making a lot of money. And he literally admitted that and, looked at the camera and said, I am only doing this because you guys are watching it and it's making views. Okay. So the point to that is that was when I knew that he was on YouTube for the money. Some of these YouTubers like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Moist Critical, I'm trying to bring it. What I'm trying to say
call them all out. Don't hold back. Call them all out.
Yep.
That's you know when you're here, I'll tell you something. I like to name names, and I appreciate it when you do too. Shout out to Hold My Dual Shock in the chat. They said, ZodWriter, glad YouTube decided to notify us that you are live for a change. Yeah, I don't know what's up with YouTube. All I'm going to say about that, people, is make sure you hit that notification bell and make sure if you're watching through your phone to make sure that you have the setting. They go into your settings on your phone and make sure you have it set to receive notifications from YouTube. Because if you don't have that setting on your phone, it's an actual separate setting that you have to go to if you're doing it on your phone. Otherwise, you will not get notifications. It's a weird thing with these apps, but I found that out the hard way because I always wondered, why am I not getting notifications for anything? through my phone, and I went in and I noticed that that little lever was not set. Yeah, that has to be set as notified 100%. Yeah, don't ever admit that. What a dumbass that YouTuber was. But back to what you were saying. What you were saying, Curly Ray. Did that impact those YouTubers in any way when he came out and he said that?
Well, the person that said that, it was not the following three I mentioned. I didn't really when I said these three names without thinking, the example I'm trying to bring out is that there can be some YouTubers out there. I'm not saying Markiplier or Jacksepticeye or Moist Critical aren't doing their content, soullessly, or aren't doing it because they're getting paid. What the point I'm trying to bring out is that there are some YouTubers out there that you'll eventually find out how soulless and heartless they can be for their content when you find out that they're, getting paid to do the content that they're doing. Because here's the thing with me. I started a YouTube channel, I didn't really know why I wanted to do with the channel. But then when I started doing this engagement with Netflix and seeing how Skywalker the Jedi, Bad Dan, even you, ZodWriter, with late night Q&A, I thought about doing my own series, but I wanted to do something that was different in a way. I chose to do a series that nobody else is doing. But here's the point I'm trying to bring out. When I'm out here creating content, I ain't doing it to get paid. I don't care if I get 0 views on my video, if I get paid $0 for that video, hey, I absolutely do not care. What I'm doing it for is showing engagement for the properties that I love. Okay? Now, there's been some people talking to me about how that, hey, I could be an influencer and then you can make a living out of this. Okay, I get that. There are some people out there that do make a living out of this stuff. There's some people, there's a YouTuber that I used to watch called Tech Rex, where he would take an iPhone. He used to take phones, tablets, gaming systems. They would throw iPhones from a 8,000-foot drop to see if the phone would survive, knowing good and well that the phone's going to get obliterated no matter what. And they'll track it down and be like, yo, we just found out that the newest iPhone, the iPhone X, has been completely obliterated. So we couldn't find it, guys. Hope to see y'all again. So those YouTubers, they possibly might be getting paid to drop those phones out and test them out, test out the drops or whatever. But this goes to the same thing with these big YouTubers. Like I mentioned, it may go with Markiplier. It may also go with Jacksepticeye. Even also could go with Moist Critical and all these big platformers. Because you don't know if their review is absolutely real for them or not.
Right,
because
right.
they're that big. And there's a chance that they could be getting paid lots of money to do a review or something, or to show off something that they have zero idea about. Or even worse, even doing a review for a film that they've never seen before. It's crazy. And like I said, I get that you may have to, make a living out of something. If you want to make a living out, if I wanted to make a living out of creating content, it definitely wouldn't be about films. Okay, because if I was getting paid to create, let's say, a Star Wars YouTube channel, you might have some companies there are some corporates or companies that will try to control your channel and use you as a way to fire against other platformers. That's not what I'm about. I am about creating content for the properties that I love. And that is one of the major reasons why, because Skywalker the Jedi, I believe, was a huge influence on me to do content create. And not only him, but like I said, Bat Dan, Leon, everyone else, including you, ZodWriter. What the plan for my platform, I'm planning to make it a Rebel Moon based channel. Because let's just take this for example. You got Star Wars Theory. He's doing Star Wars content, talking about Star Wars, reading through the comic books, and doing all of that cool stuff for the Star Wars franchise. Okay? I hadn't seen anybody do this for Rebel Moon. I hadn't seen anybody. I've seen people do it for Star Trek. I've seen people do it for Marvel. I've seen people do it for DC. But when it comes to Rebel Moon, which is a Zack Snyder project, and here's the thing about it. It's been whenever, something very positive comes out from Zack Snyder, like something absolutely amazing, everyone's all quiet unless if it's a negative review. So it's like I said before, if you guys won't do that kind of stuff, hey, I'll be glad to take that position because, excuse me, I am a fan of his projects. So if I'm a fan, I should engage with his work. And not only that, but I should create content and show people all the properties that I love. And for that, I think creating this Rebel Moon based YouTube channel could get a lot of people because the Rebel Moon fan base is going to get bigger than it is right now. It's going to get bigger than it is
Well,
right
you know
now.
what? Wait, can I make a suggestion? I think if you're going to do that and you're going to be a hub for Rebel Moon content, the way that a good example you gave was Star Wars Theory. If you're going to do that for Rebel Moon, that'd be great, especially with the way that you like to dress up. You could do for all your videos, you could have your Jimmy mask on and you could be talking about, the comics, and you could give theories, you could do like what if scenarios, but you're going to have to steep yourself in the lore 1,000% if you want to do that, because like again, you mentioned Star Wars Theory and the way that he delves deep into Star Wars with everything from the comics to the animations to the movies, everything. You're going to have to be like that with Rebel Moon. Every piece of Rebel Moon media that you could, get your hands on in order to be able to do it that way. But if you did that, you could turn around and you could be that main hub. And within a short amount of time, you would blow up. That would be huge because I've looked, I have not seen any YouTube channels that are dedicated to Rebel Moon on that level.
Absolutely.
So I for one, personally, I'm already subscribed to your channel. I would be 1,000 times, there for everything you did. If that was what you chose to do, if that was the direction you chose to go, I would be all for it because I think that would be a beautiful thing. We need stuff like that, especially with the way things are with Zack Snyder. And I want to highlight this comment here from Hold My DualShock. They hate Snyder because his fans went around the media / Hollywood machine. The fans don't need the media. The fans don't need Hollywood. We're the hype machine. We do it ourselves. And because we're the hype machine, okay, that's why Snyder is so resented. And that is a beautiful point made by Hold My DualShock, because it shows, you don't need millions of dollars. You don't need to pay for reviews. That's one thing about Zack Snyder's fan base. Zack Snyder has a genuine fan base. We are all genuine Zack Snyder fans. We all love Zack Snyder on a level both as a filmmaker, and we love the way he is, personally, the way he interacts with his fans, the way he's, just as devoted to his fan base as we are to him. These are all very, very, these are the kinds of things that Hollywood and the media does not like, because they want to be the ones to manipulate everything. They want to be the ones to control the narratives. They want to be the ones to tell you what it is that you should like and not like. And that's why there's this vendetta against Zack Snyder. It's as much about Snyder's fans as it is about Snyder himself. And I think, so I think with you, doing that for Rebel Moon, that would be huge. And I think you would find, if you really did decide to delve that hard into it, the Curly Ray, your channel would blow up in a matter of months, especially if you started, going all in on the level with the way that, like a Star Wars theory type channel for Rebel Moon. That would be fantastic. I hope you do it.
I still really want to do it. And here's the thing about it too, I still got get ready, do some equipment. The reason why I've kind of been slow with it is because, I have to work and also pay money for, bills, and also, get some equipment. I got to get a capture card for my PC. And here's the thing too. I already have a review video for the Jimmy and Nemesis action figures on my channel. I also need to review. I also need, like you said before, I need to talk about the comics. And, here's the thing too. This is a whole new IP that just launched back in December. We already got the movies. We got technically 4 movies, but we had Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2. We've had House of the Blacks. We've had the Cinescale. We've had the Rebel Moon / Roblox game mode that just came out, which I have 2 videos of that on my YouTube channel. And for anybody that hasn't played it yet, you guys are missing out. Y'all should check that out after the stream and go out and play it. It's so much fun. And it's kind of like Call of Duty, but it is still pretty fun. I think you guys should check it out. And yeah, we've had the Cinescale, and not only that, plus we have Army of the Dead, Army of Thieves, and Twilight of the Gods. Those are all the main projects that we've gotten so far from the Rebel Moon universe. And I want to ask you this, ZodWriter, what do you think we could be getting out of the Rebel Moon universe next year, besides the Rebel Moon mobile game, which I believe is going to get revealed at Gamescom this year, because the creators, the developers of the Rebel Moon mobile game, replied to one of my posts about which game I was quoting the Game Awards about what people, which game are you expecting to see at the Game Awards? And I said the Rebel Moon game from Super Ebro Megacorp. Well, Super Ebro Megacorp made a reply to that post, that quote I made out, and they said, "Hey, Curly Ray, just want you to know that this game's still developing, but we made you kind of, hold on for a second. But the good news is that the game's coming out, and I do believe it will get revealed there. But other than that game, what do you think we're going to be getting out of the Rebel Moon universe next year?"
Well, I'm kind of hoping we get like a AAA video game on the main consoles. I'd like to see something. I'd actually like to see something like that, something really big, not just a mobile game, but something really big that ties in. And then, again, I'm not against, more cartoons, more comic books, more novels, more movie, everything, because again, fleshing out Rebel Moon on the level of Star Wars is something that needs to happen, because it's such a rich and diverse world. I mean, I don't know what you think of this. Have you had a chance to listen to the podcast, the audio drama that's on Spotify.
Are you
I
talking about
listen
the Cinescale?
the Cynical. Yeah, I listened to
Okay.
the first episode. I haven't listened to the second episode yet, but I found it to be interesting that they would go in the direction that they went. Essentially, Jimmy's origin basically comes from people that started off by creating like sex robots
Oh
and
yes.
essentially went moved on from sex robots to creating warrior type robots. And it's sort of it's just it's just like an interesting dynamic. And the whole story with the perverted king and all that crazy stuff. But I was listening to the episode and I'm thinking, yeah, this is so Zack Snyder. I mean, this definitely fits in with the director's cuts of Rebel Moon 1 and 2 that we just got done watching. So I'm curious as to what you thought of that, if you've heard any of it so far, and like, what do you expect to see from Rebel Moon coming up next year?
Okay, for the Cinescale, I've listened to episode 1. I have not. I'm going to be listening to episode 2 later on tonight before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Now, what I thought about the Cinescale, one thing that I was thinking about, like you were talking about the Jimmies, how they were, sex robots before. I think from the way they were wording it,
Yeah.
it sounded like the design was different. It wasn't like 4 dots in the eyes and mouth and heart, because in there they were describing a tongue in there, like for those robots. So I was just like, were they designed differently? Because it sounds like they could have been designed differently. Now for next year, what I'm expecting from what I believe, and if we go down to Batdan's comment, his latest one, he talks about how he wants the Nemesis prequel comic. Batdan, I believe that the Nemesis prequel comic, I think, has been confirmed. I think it's currently being written right now. Now for the game, like Sin Havoc was talking about, a Rebel Moon game on PC and console. From what I've heard on that, I heard that I believe Zack Snyder was talking about how maybe after 5 or 6 years after the Rebel Moon universe has come out, after Rebel Moon, because Rebel Moon is just it's this little small tree right now, like, but here's the thing, it's growing, and once it grows into this big, massive tree,
That's a great point, that it's a small tree right now, like your antlers. Your antlers are small, but eventually those antlers are going to
they're gonna
grow.
big. Big.
Right.
And with that, he was describing how maybe 5 to 6 years after we got the Rebel Moon universe in a way, he says maybe that's when we may consider into working on a AAA game. Now, for what I'm going to expect so far, for now, I believe the mobile game is going to come out in early 2025. I think we're getting an animated series on Balisarius in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's based on. I'm not really sure, but I do think we're going to get some kind of Rebel Moon animated series. I do think we're going to get more comic book spinoffs, more podcasts, and even possibly, maybe announcement about Rebel Moon 3 being in development, which they could announce it this year. It could be this year when they announce Rebel Moon 3.
I would hope that they do. I hope they announce it. They announce it this year. But I mean, here's the thing. We're all a part of the sell ZSJL, sell Snyderverse to Netflix movement here. We're all a part of that group. We all want to see the Zack's DC stuff concluded. So there has to be some time carved out for that. So that's my thing too. It's like, okay, part of me is like, yeah, I want you to announce Rebel Moon 3, but the thing is, Zack has to have time to work on all this stuff. So I'm in the coming months, like Sin Havoc is saying down here, in the coming months, stay tuned. we're gonna hear something. There's gonna be something big coming up, because we need to hear all of that. And again, it's all about, the more Zack Snyder, the better. So as far as I'm concerned, if we get an announcement for Rebel Moon 3, we get an announcement this year, I'll be excited. If we hear about, Cell, being confirmed, that we're going to finally get some movement on Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, which, if you watched Skywalker the Jedi's stream yesterday, Deborah Snyder kind of let it slip. She didn't know what they have planned.
Yep.
She kind of let it slip that it's something that, that's in development, not in so many words, but that was pretty exciting to hear that on Skywalker the Jedi stream yesterday. If you watch the Zack Snyder Hour, and he showed that clip at the end of the stream, and so shout out to Skywalker the Jedi, and he had in that clip, you heard Deborah Snyder kind of let it slip, and it was just kind of like, that is awesome. So my guess for next year would be that we're going to get an announcement in the coming months this year for Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. That's my prediction. So maybe, Rebel Moon 3 will be kind of, pushed back a little bit to give Zack some time to finish the Snyderverse. And then for DC, and then go back to Rebel Moon. And to me, that would be perfect. That's like the best direction that we could hope for, because again, we need that conclusion to the DC stuff so that we can move on with our lives as far as that goes. And it's kind of and it is one of those things. If you're a DC fan and you're a Zack Snyder fan, your OCD is literally off the charts right now over what's going on right now, because we need Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. So,
yes. And you were talking about how, he would need more time on each project. Here's the thing about that too, which is awesome. They could have other people, working on these comic book spinoffs for Rebel Moon and these Rebel Moon animated shows, while Zack Snyder is working on Justice League 2 and 3. Like, they could be expanding this universe by, having all these other people working. See, here's the thing. Like, Zack Snyder could be working with all these other people working together to build this universe. See, while he's working on Justice League 2 and 3, people could be working on comic book spinoffs for Rebel Moon, animated spinoffs, and even, live action spinoffs if they want to. But I think, like you said, they can expand through comics, podcast, video games, while Zack Snyder is working on Justice League 2 and 3 and Rebel Moon 3, even if he does work on after that. And what Batman was talking about, how he would rather have Justice League 2 and 3, finish the story, and then work on Rebel Moon. I definitely agree with you on there, Batman, because, even after, because see, here's the thing. If the Cyberverse, which it is, when it gets brought over to Netflix, the first thing that needs to happen is Justice League 2 and 3. And after that, Netflix can decide on whether if they want to continue with this, if they want to add some additions to that universe after those films. So they could have somebody else creating the Batfleck movie while Zack Snyder is working on Rebel Moon 3. If y'all get what I mean. Like, they could have all these other creatives, helping out Zack Snyder.
But that's undoubtedly what's going to happen. I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's all part of, the Stone Quarry machine, Zack Snyder's machine. We're going to get all that stuff is gonna come out down the line. And again, Zack will probably do Rebel Moon 3, but like you said, all these spin-offs and stuff, he can have other creatives work on, comics, audio books, whatever have you. And we got, and like Batman is saying here, Zack could even have a showrunner for a Rebel Moon spin-off in the meantime to keep that hype going while Zack does Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. And Sin Havoc says, I told you, announcements and reveals, 2024 is here. Buckle up, 10 years after Zack Snyder's Justice League. See, and that's why I'm saying, man, I'm sitting here like, when Sin Havoc says this stuff, it's like you just go thumbs up because I know it's gonna happen. Incoming announcements, we're good. I think we're in good shape. I believe, the Curly Ray, that we are eating good as Zack Snyder fans. We're definitely getting what we want, and it's about time because, like I said, it's just been crazy. Another example, Army of Thieves. Zack Snyder didn't direct that.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. And Zack didn't have to direct it. It was a brilliant movie. Zack didn't have to direct it, but it was in the Army of the Dead universe, and it was wonderful. Zack doesn't have to direct everything.
Exactly. There was Wonder Woman that was directed by Patty Jenkins. Was that directed by him? No. Was it written by him? Yes. He wrote the script for it, but did he have to direct it? No. It was still a great movie. And here's another thing. You were talking about the Rebel Moon AAA game. Which developers do you think would make the perfect Rebel Moon game? Like if you had to choose a game studio to work on the very first Rebel Moon AAA game, which one would it be for you, ZodWriter?
A game studio? Wow. That's hard to say because there's so many studios have gotten bought up and are being, swallowed up and, merging and things like that. So it's really hard to pick an actual studio.
It's either Bethesda. This is for now.
I knew you were going to say Bethesda. For some reason, I guess maybe it was your Jimmy mask. I don't know. But for some reason, I knew you were going to say Bethesda. But go ahead, carry on.
You know what it could have been? It could have been the fact that the cast actually played Starfield. There was actually a video on there where they're actually it's like with Cora, Kai, and everyone. They're just sitting there playing Starfield, which is a game I do plan to show y'all on my channel in the next few months. Whenever I get back to Saturday afternoon gaming, that series, which I'm going to bring back probably in October because I want to give people time to watch Rebel Moon, the director's cuts, and even Twilight of the Gods, because that's coming out next month. Mm-hmm. We're almost a month away towards that. But the other game studio I was thinking of, I think Skywalker brought this up, so shout out to him, because I was thinking about this. Respawn that worked on the Titanfall series, and also Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. I think they would make a fantastic Rebel Moon game.
You're probably right. All the things you mentioned, all the, I don't think that we're going to have a problem with whatever studio gets the game, because we know that Zack will be involved. He'll be hands-on with the story, and he'll make sure that it's right and that it's good for us. I would like, what I would like, and it might seem a little bit odd, but I would not mind them to do like a Rebel Moon VR experience.
They actually did that at it was somewhere in St. Louis, but they had some kind of VR event for Rebel Moon. I will probably show it to y'all. I'll probably share y'all the video.
But like an actual game where you could, where you're actually in the Rebel Moon world and you have all these. I think that would be a lot of fun. I mean, imagine being able to walk around like a mothership and being able to like interact with, different characters and stuff. And now with, with AI being the way it is for video games too, you can be a lot more interactive with a lot of these characters. And I think a VR game would be something really neat too. Batdan's Thoughts says, the Curly Ray, if Netflix got a deal for DC, Snyderverse for the Ayer cut plus any other already filmed director's cut, ZSJL 2 and 3, and one other project, and no other. Which one would you pick?
Well, if you're talking about any other director's cuts, it's definitely the Muschietti cut for the Flash, because I think that would fit in perfectly in for Zack Snyder's Justice League, because we already know that there's deleted scenes for the Flash where Batman's stuck in in a time lapse, and we also had that ending where we had Ben Affleck's Batman at the end with Henry Cavill's Superman. That cut of the film, that 4-hour cut, I think would work perfectly well with, Zack Snyder's Justice League. And for one other project, Dan, it would definitely be, to me, I was thinking about this. For me, it's between Ben Affleck's solo movie or Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, directed by Zack Snyder. Now, to me, it's a hard choice. And the reason why I say that, I would definitely pick Batman The Dark Knight Returns. But here's why I kind of, put them in between each other. I also want Zack Snyder to, even after he does Justice League 2 and 3, I also want him to continue working on the Rebel Moon, on the Rebel Moon films. And then maybe while he's doing that, as like I said before, maybe while he's doing that, they can have somebody do Ben Affleck's, solo Batman film. But if they do decide to take a break for, and if they decide to do, these Rebel Moon film spin-offs that are set before Rebel Moon 3, then they could possibly let Zack Snyder do Batman, The Dark Knight Returns on Netflix. Just think about that. If they let Zack Snyder make that movie, I think that will be the best comic book film of all time, hands out, in my opinion. And I think, it's like I said before, letting these creatives, given, having everybody else on the team, working on these other projects while Zack Snyder's doing some other stuff, that helps the Rebel Moon universe grow, and that also gives more opportunities for there to be more projects to be continuing forward with Zack Snyder's DC universe. And that's exactly how I think you should. So for now, it's the Muschietti cut of The Flash, and it's either between Ben Affleck's solo movie with Deathstroke and the live action Dark Knight Returns adaptation. So it's either between one of theirs.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's see. Let's see. Batdan's Thought says, I can't agree with you. Zack Snyder's The Dark Knight Returns wouldn't be the best film singular, but I don't know. I think if Zack was going to do The Dark Knight Returns, he would do it, and it would just be a long movie. He would do the whole thing, but it would just be a long movie. Zack is no stranger to long movies, Batdan. We just got done watching a 3.5 hour Rebel Moon Part 1 and 3.5 hour Rebel Moon Part 2. That's over 6 hours of content. I think if he was going to do The Dark Knight Returns, I think he could do the entire story in 3.5 hours. I don't think he would need to make it a 2-parter. because he could tell it all. This is Zack Snyder we're talking about.
He did tell the Justice League story in 4 hours and even added an epilogue to it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't really think he, you know, I mean, I could see them maybe telling him, well, Zach, you have to split it into 2 parts. I could see the studio wanting it to be 2 parts, or like Sin Havoc is saying, make it into a, you know, like a series of like 10 episodes, or better still, take the graphic novel broken up into parts, okay, like however many, like the original issues, take it, because, you know, contrary to what a lot of people believe, The Dark Knight Returns didn't start out as a graphic novel. Okay, it started off as a comic, just like
The death of
just like Watchmen. It was done in parts back in the 80s, okay, and it was 4 issues. So you could literally break it down into 4 hour-and-a-half or 4-hour-long episodes and tell the story the way it was originally released, you know, in its comic book form. Like, you know, like Sin Havoc is saying 10 episodes, but if they did it like that, I think that would satisfy everybody. I'm with Sin Havoc on this. I could see them totally doing that, breaking it up into TV episodes, especially if it's on Netflix. What do you think, Curly Ray?
Yeah, I do see where you are talking about how they could break it up and put it into, you know, separate episodes. But here's the thing about it too. If Zack Snyder is given to do Justice League 2 and 3, and eventually, let's say if he wants to, you know, if for some reason, if they decide Justice League 2 and 3 and not continue on with anything else in that universe and let Zack Snyder continue Rebel Moon, hey, I'm perfectly okay with that. Because here's why. Rebel Moon has been Zack Snyder's dream project, you know, for a long time. And I would rather... what I'm trying to say is I don't want to see a whole universe that Netflix let Zack Snyder build out get absolutely destroyed, just like how Warner Brothers completely destroyed his DC universe, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, no, that's never going to happen. Netflix. That's why I'm saying Netflix is very protective. Zack Snyder is an investment to them. They value Zack Snyder. They're not treating Zack Snyder the way Warner Brothers did.
Absolutely.
That's the difference that we're dealing with, the difference in dynamics and ideologies between the studios. When we look at Netflix, for example, they care about filmmakers and they let filmmakers make the kinds of content they want to make. They don't try to... That's the whole reason why, like, at first I was irritated by the whole idea of Netflix putting out PG-13 cuts of Rebel Moon and then letting Zack put out his director's cuts. And I always thought that was kind of goofy, because I'm like, why not just let Zack put out his director's cuts and just put out the movies he wants to put out? This is streaming. Why does he need to put... But I understand from a marketing perspective why they would do something like that they would say, well, no, we'll put out these first and then you can put out your director's cuts, because you corner all ends of the market. You get people that, you know, because again, the first, you know, the original Netflix cuts, those were essentially family friendly. You could watch, you know, PG-13, yeah. You can watch, you know, and it's not like, but the movies that we just got are for the fans, are for us, are for the diehard Zack Snyder fanatics that are gonna eat it all up, because we love Zack Snyder's artistic style. We want to see his pure, unleashed Snyder vision for whatever he's doing. That's what we want to see. That's what we love. So for someone like me, I'm always going to prefer the director's cuts over anything else that, you know, the studios want to put out first. And so to me, it's not even an issue. I mean, we got some people that'll actually say things like, well, I actually preferred the way that the Netflix cuts flowed. They flowed much better than the director's cuts. And I would have to completely disagree with that, because the director's cuts are the true vision that Zack wanted to give you. And Zack gave us so much more in those director's cuts. And if you're a big fan of Rebel Moon and you've read the novels like I have, the novels are even have stuff in them that's not in either the director's cuts or the original Netflix versions. There's stuff that, and from what I heard, maybe Sin Havoc could follow up on this. Is there stuff? Is it true that there's stuff and for Rebel Moon that Zack filmed where Zack could actually have yet additional cuts for like an ultimate edition of Rebel Moon, stuff that was in the book that wasn't in either cut? Because that's what I realized, because I read the books, which were written by V. Castro. They were beautiful books. These books are, if you haven't read them, The Curly Ray, I highly recommend that you either read them or you listen to the audiobooks. That goes for anybody out there who's a diehard Zack Snyder fan. The novels are fantastic, and while for me watching them on film, it's the director's cuts, but as far as the story goes, God, the books are wonderful. The books are fantastic too. Not
only the novels, but the concept art books,
the comics. The concept art books are nice too.
There's a new one coming out in a couple of weeks. Actually, I think it comes out right before my birthday, because my birthday is actually 2 weeks from today, and I'll be 24 in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the books. I actually got the first and second novels.
You haven't read them yet, though?
I hadn't read them yet, but I've been, been wanting to wait until we saw these director's cuts, and I want to read them and, see what's going on.
You were smart to do that, because for me, I read the first book when it came out, and it ruined, the first movie for me, the Netflix version, because the book had so much more in it. And thankfully, the book starts out the way that the first book starts out the way that the director's cut does. So that whole, opening, that whole separate opening sequence where we learn about the king and we learn about, we learn all this stuff. That whole thing, is in the book, and it is so well done. It is so well written and described, and the scenes are just very vivid and well done. But like, to me, you did the right thing by not reading the books prior, so now you can go and you can read the books and you can enjoy them, and you'll be able to take in all the stuff that is not in the not even in any of the cuts, and you'll be able to get all that extra stuff. So I think I really think you'll enjoy them. But good on you, man, to have gotten them and to just put them aside, because that's highly recommended.
For the concept art books, I did look through the concept art book that came out in April, and I looked through some pages, of it. I didn't read through the whole thing, but
I didn't get those yet because I knew that there would be spoilers from some stuff that we hadn't seen. So I was like, no, I'm gonna wait on the concept art books, but I am gonna get them. But it was just like, there's things you don't want to see. And like I said, I learned from my mistake of reading the first book. I learned that no, you can't do that when you're waiting on director's cuts to come out. Now, if these director's cuts, I will be honest, if these director's cuts didn't come out at all, then the books is definitely the way to go. 100%.
Yep.
The books are better, hands down.
It's like comparing the Harry Potter films to the books.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, Voldemort, like, they describe him really differently in the books. Like, he ain't the one with the little tiny little nose and the little tiny little mouth. He describes, because his mouth in the books, they described him looking like a snake because he had like fang-like teeth. What I'm trying to bring out is that the books are completely different than those movies. So yeah, if they didn't release the director's cuts, I would have been reading the books by now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what the books would do is they would make you more hungry for the director's cuts. They would make you want the director's cuts because there's so much more in those books. That's why I'm saying I can't understand anybody that sits there and says that they prefer the original cuts to the director's cuts. I don't get that at all. I'm sitting there and I look at that kind of stuff and I say, are you paying attention? Do you even understand or comprehend the story for which you're watching? Because if you're telling me that you prefer the Netflix versions to the director's cuts, you're clearly not invested in the world of Rebel Moon. Because I will say this, for me, Rebel Moon Part 2 in particular, the director's cut of Rebel Moon Part 2 is night and day better than the Part 2 that we got on Netflix. It's not even close. It is night and day better. It is so good, so much better. Oh my God, it made Part 2 so much. That gave Part 2 so much more. I really, to me, there's no comparison between the two. And Part 1 as well. There's so much. Now, I wish there was a little bit more in Part 1 that's in the book, that's not in the director's cut of Part 1. I wish there was a little more, but it's still better than what we got originally from Netflix. I mean, I'll never go back to those PG-13 versions personally.
Yeah. Now, I probably feel like that, even though I definitely prefer the director's cuts over the PG-13 cuts. I feel like the only time I'll probably watch the PG-13 cuts is if Part 3 gets a PG-13 cut and a director's cut. I believe they're going to do that for, Part 3 as well.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, if they're going to do the same thing, then yeah. But as far as like, my regular viewing would go for these movies, it's going to be the director's cuts all the way. Batdan's Thought wants to know who's a director you would love to work on a Rebel Moon spin-off project.
Oh, there is actually one director. Christopher Nolan's one of them. But there's another director. I forgot his name, but I know which project he's worked on. The guy. Can somebody name out the guy who did Rogue One and The Creator?
Okay, you're talking about Gareth Edwards?
Yes, Gareth Edwards. I think he would actually make a amazing Rebel Moon project because I hadn't seen all of his other films. I've only seen Rogue One and The Creator. But in The Creator, like, they got those robots and all those creatures and stuff. And he's also doing the next Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And he's doing all these, you see his, how he does stuff. Like, the robots they had in those movies, I don't know if that was CGI, but that stuff looked real. Those scenes where they're going off in space and doing all those, when they're exploring the areas. I know this, may sound a little bit short, but, his style, I think, would fit perfectly for the Rebel Moon universe. And I think my battery it just went dead. So
yeah. I'm like, you lost your face. Okay, well,
we just got back.
Okay, well, you just got your face back. Okay, well, that's cool. I've never, I don't think I've ever interviewed anybody on Late Night Q&A that had two faces before. So this is a first.
Yep.
So welcome back to the show, the Curly Ray.
Thank you very much.
But I gotta say, man, your Jimmy mask is top notch. It's really amazing. I really love it, and I give you a lot of credit for sitting there throughout this whole show wearing that mask, because it, is it heavy? Is it hot? I mean,
it was not hot. It was kind of bothering my nose right here, but
okay.
yeah, I can tolerate it for sure. Like, it doesn't really like bother me completely. But there is one question I do have for y'all on this. I'm going to take off my whole thing. I'm going to take off the whole thing for a second. Just give me a few seconds.
Sure, no problem. And Sin Havoc says the teeth collector, that's a rabbit hole in itself. Yeah, the teeth collector thing was amazing, for real.
So here's the question I got for some of y'all. And I think I asked some of y'all this, but for those of y'all that may not know.
Yeah.
Do y'all think I look like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
I get that a lot.
That's I could see that. You could actually cosplay as him. I mean, that could work.
I could just put on the Green Lantern shirt and I'll just be like, yo, what's up? You want to talk about some nerd stuff?
you could do it, you know? And W. Mir doesn't care about the PG-13.
Yeah. I really don't either. But hey, I may go back to them. I feel like I will, but for now, I'm just watching the director's cut. See, I got part 1 playing on my TV in here right now, and I also got part 2 playing in my living room.
Well, you're on the level. But what I wanted to do now is I want to kind of transition a little bit here, because I want to spend a little time here talking about some more about One Punch Man, because as you know, that is a project that I am all deep into working on. We've got a lot of people here in the chat right now who are a big part of One Punch Man. And I definitely want to talk a little bit about that, and I have some special things to share with you guys tonight in honor of the Curly Ray being here and all of our people in the chat. We've got Bishop, we've got Qatar, we've got Hold My Dual Shock, we've got all these people that are actually in the One Punch Dan in the One Punch Dan movie, and I have to shout you all out for being a part of it. And Bat Dan says he doesn't want you to cosplay as a Snyder hater because Sheldon threw shade at Ben Affleck. So
he really?
Yeah, in one of the episodes. Yeah. Bat Dan showed me the scene, and he showed me the scene on YouTube. He knows, so I was like, okay. So that kind of, I was gonna actually go back and watch the whole series, because I'd never seen the entire run of the show. I was gonna go back and do it, and when he showed me that scene, I kind of lost interest in going back and rewatching it because of that. So yeah. Yeah, and Sin Havoc tells us, yes, he did. And Sin Havoc as well is a part of the One Punch Dan universe. Now, what I was thinking of doing for you, the Curly Ray, since you did not want to be a part of One Punch Dan as far as, the AI aspect, I was thinking of having you maybe be somebody where they kind of like mention you in a cameo as like being somebody who was there, like like you were gonna, so like you would get a mention in the movie as in like a line or something. I was thinking somewhere at some point in the movie you might get mentioned. That's something that I'm thinking about doing for people that didn't want their likeness or their voice to be used in the movie. Give have them get like shouted out in some way, or get a mention from another character or something like that. It's not called One Punch Man. It's called One Punch Dan. One Punch Man is a different thing. One Punch Man is an anime about about the only thing, and I'm going to tell you right now, the only thing that One Punch Dan has in common with One Punch Man is that they're both bald. That's about it. That's about the only thing that they have in common, that they're both bald. They're both bald dudes. That's about it. I mean, and even there's a lot of sequences in One Punch Dan where One Punch Dan actually has hair in some sequences too. So that's really the only thing. So I want to kill these misconceptions, because I had somebody else who asked me about that. Well, what about One Punch Man? And no problem, Darth Plato. I'm not picking on you for asking. I'm just explaining, because I think it's an important distinction that I should make. One Punch Man, yeah, it's an anime, and while One Punch Dan gets his powers from this solar orb, and his powers are, it's kind of like a sun, like a solar type power. So I call his punch like the solar mega punch that he uses when he hits an enemy. And he's got like, but it's very different from One Punch Man. I'm not trying to copy One Punch Man in any way, shape, or form. There's no similarities. I don't even know the name of the guy in One Punch Man. What's his name? Do you know his name?
Who are you talking about?
The main character in One Punch Man. Yeah, Saitama. Saitama's not anything like Dan in One Punch Dan. Not at all.
Is just overpowered and can break a moon with just one punch. That's how overpowered he is. And not only that, he is able to, go faster than time itself. Like in the manga.
Yeah. One Punch Dan can't do all of that. One Punch Dan has some strength, and he has a strong fist, and his one punch is really powerful, but he's not like that kind of powerful. It's like it's not like that. There's a lot of other heroes in the One Punch Dan universe that are way more powerful than One Punch Dan. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Well, that's something, Darth Plato, you should ask Bat Dan about, because maybe Bat Dan could tell you. I don't do all the decimals and extra numbers, but maybe Bat Dan could tell you, could answer that question if he's still in the chat. I don't know. I think he left before. He's leaving before I put I start putting out One Punch Dan material. But no, if you're still in the chat, Bat Dan, go ahead and answer that question about
there he is.
About the name. Oh, but no, he says ZodWriter is the writer, not me. No, but Bat Dan, I mean, we want to know, is that what you would, are the numbers, the whole numbers, the decimals, is that what you would do? Because, I say, One Punch, and I spell it as how it's spelt. There's no dashes, there's no spaces. It's the number one, and it's Punch Dan, all one word. There are no spaces between any of it. It's all one word. So, that's another, differential. But I definitely, could see where some people would say, about the similarities. See, and here we go. No, not as catchy. It's funny for movie ratings, but this it would be annoying. Well, I'm glad, Bat Dad, that you acknowledge that, because I feel the same way. I would not want to do that. Although I do have plans for the One Punch Dan animated series. That's a separate project that I'm not gonna talk too much about, where there will be an episode where it's a bunch of numbers with a decimal point, and then it says Punch Dan. There's an episode title that kind of plays on that. But there is no dashes. There are no things. I'm going to put it in the chat exactly the way it is. It is done for the movie. That is what it is. That's what it is right there. One Punch Dan. You don't spell out the one. You don't put a dash between anything. It's just One Punch Dan. And I'm gonna go ahead now, since we're on the topic of this great upcoming movie of mine, and I'm going to shamelessly plug it here. And first, what I'm gonna do is, I'm sure most of you have already seen this. This first thing I want to show, which is the Just Josh teaser trailer. This is 21 seconds. This is the first teaser trailer, live action teaser trailer that I've released for the movie. The first official One Punch Dan teaser trailer, focusing on One Punch Dan himself, is getting released next Wednesday on the 14th. But when I was working on the Josh trailer, I thought it was so cool that I had to put it out. I had to put it out earlier than I intended. So I ended up putting it out. So here is the teaser trailer, the Just Josh teaser trailer. And then we'll talk a little bit about Josh's character and this teaser trailer afterwards. And then I've got a couple other little things to share with you guys from this film. So here we go.
I've been a superhero ever since I was a kid, and let's face it, I was the best then, and I'm the best now. Not even One Punch Dan can match my abilities. God, yes, everybody, I'm that guy. Oh yeah, silly me, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Just Josh.
So there's the first teaser trailer for One Punch Dan. We're focusing solely on Just Josh, the character of Just Josh. That's what he's actually called. And live action, ready to go. That's what I was talking about when I said a little bit of comic relief. He's kind of the funny kind of, goofy. I kind of took inspiration from the real Josh Herrera, as well as DC Comics Booster Gold, and a couple other comic book characters and movie characters that I kind of took a little inspiration from for that teaser trailer. And the swag that Josh carries with the character, as well as his little voiceover. He's a little cocky, and he kind of but it's to show you're going to see a lot of different dynamics between him and some other characters in the movie. One Punch Dan's rogues gallery he's got a really, really badass villain. Her name is Issa Gay. She is a cyborg female villain. She is hell-bent on destroying everything. But she has her father in the film, and her father is portrayed by none other than the Bishop, who's here in the chat. Bishop plays her father. So there's this special little thing that I wanted to share with you all, that is a little preview of Issa Gay's character and where she is kind of going through some conflict. So this is a little, and you guys are seeing this little teaser here. This is a 15-second teaser. You're seeing this here as an exclusive on this episode of Q&A for joining me and a Curly Ray. I'm not going to release this little teaser just yet for anyone else or on any other platform. You are seeing it here for the first time, unless I sent it to you privately for some reason. But if not, you are seeing it here for the first time. This is 15 seconds. This is Issa Gay, the main villain of the story, and her conflict and what she is dealing with. I call this teaser trailer Faith. Here it is.
Hear me, my daughter. Embrace the light. You will find yourself again. I believe in you. I know my faith is not in vain.
That looks good.
And Bat Dan's thought says, Darth Plato, there's a reason for Issa Gay. I'll just say that. Yeah, Issa Gay, I'm falling in love with Issa Gay every single time I render a scene with Issa Gay, because all of her scenes come out wonderful. And she's very, 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 very awesome. And I have to say that, her character, she is not a cookie cutter villain at all. She is not, she's not just purely evil. There is something about her, and you guys are going to learn all about her backstory in the movie. Her backstory is fleshed out. You'll find out who she is. You'll find out why she's the way she is. You'll find out the relationship between her and her father, who is the bishop. You will find out all about that in, when you see the actual film. Now, I have one more exclusive surprise for you guys from One Punch Dan. I have not shown this to anybody. This is something that is, brand new, that I just finished rendering for One Punch Dan. So this is hot off the press. This features a few different characters. You're going to see a lot of One Punch Dan that you haven't seen. You're going to see a lot of the character in this. You're going to see a lot of my tarot card wheeling superhero, Sweet Sonya G. You're going to see a lot of her in this trailer. But this is a special trailer that I put together again, to thank you guys all for coming here for this late night Q&A with me and TheCurlyRay. So this is something that I'm gonna share with you all. Are you ready for this, TheCurlyRay?
I sure am.
Okay, my friend. Well, this is it. This is the special. It's about a minute long. It is a One Punch Dan movie extended teaser, and you guys are getting it exclusively here for being here with us on Late Night Q&A. You guys are the first to see this. This has not been released on any of my social media platforms, and this is something special. So check it out, guys.
Everything is dust in the wind unless you are eternal like me. Exclusive, never before seen teaser trailer for One Punch Dan. What's your opinion on that, TheCurlyRay?
Round of applause. That's my thoughts on it.
All right.
Great job, ZodWriter.
All right. There's a lot to unpack. I want to get some thoughts here in the chat. Give your feedback, because you guys are, the test audience for a lot of this stuff. If you guys are watching my late night Q&As, and I'm going to make an announcement here too, an exclusive announcement for the few of you that are still here, that the ZodWriter show is officially returning in September. and I'm not going to announce who the new co-host of the ZodWriter show is, but the ZodWriter show will have a new co-host starting in September. It's returning, and we're gonna be, of course, promoting the heck out of One Punch Dan every show. But I also want to tell you guys that as my viewers, you guys are going to get to see a lot of exclusive material. You guys are going to get to see are going to be the first to see a lot of stuff, because there's going to be a lot of One Punch Dan stuff coming out as this movie is as this movie ramps up, because the rate that I'm going, my estimation is that I will have this movie done probably within the next 6 months. I'll have it completely finished and ready to go. And the release date is July 11th. The movie is, of course, dedicated to the late, great Scooper Supreme, our good friend, the Dreamwalker, Mikey Sutton, and it is also being dedicated to James Gunn's dad. So we're gonna dedicate the movie to James Gunn's dad, because it is coming out on the same day as Superman. And I intend for people to get more joy and more positivity, more fun, and be more compelled than anything they're seeing from James Gunn. One Punch Dan is going to wipe the floor with Superman in 2025. And I'm not saying that to be boastful. I'm not saying that to be, toot my own horn. But I'm saying this because I know it's going to be a better movie, because I know the kind of audience that I have. I know the kind of movies you all like. I know the kind of movies that I like. And this is a deeply layered film that people are not going to be expecting. So, well, Darth Plato, I will tell you this. Isekai is a very, very, very deeply layered character. And I'm going to tell you the truth. She started out as a sort of joke, as a sort of one-dimensional villain. And, you'll get a featurette with me and Bat Dan talking about the origins of Isekai at some point. But she definitely started out as more of a joke, as more of like a almost, I don't want to say parody, but she really wasn't someone you could take seriously, and she evolved into a very brilliant character, a very brilliant villain, a very beautiful character. Her arc in this movie just has me tore up inside. I wish I could just spoil it all for you guys and let you guys know now, but I don't want to do that, because there's just so much about her that you guys just have you guys are not ready. I wasn't ready, but she's just too good of a character to make one-dimensional and simple. So I had to give her those deep layers that she deserves. I had to give her the appropriate story beats. She is a great villain. I will tell you, definitely. She's definitely a great villain. Which is the same day. Yeah, the same day as Papa Gunny Poo. Yes, definitely. No, she wasn't in Alpha Flight. What she was just kind of like, I'll just say that she was just one-dimensional, okay? But she's not at all. The Isekai that I started with when I first started writing One Punch Dan, and I came up with the starting blocks for her character, it's not that anymore. She developed into a full-fledged character that is like, I want to say it was almost like you have like a basic idea for a character. Like, for example, initially Darth Vader wasn't supposed to be Luke Skywalker's father, right? He was supposed to be just another like an evil Sith. He was just supposed to be a one-dimensional bad guy with no real dimensions or anything. But Issei evolved into being far more than even what I imagined. She is such a deep character. I might actually have to give her own movie after this, because she's so deeply layered. She might have to get her own story. Yeah, she's definitely an original, 100%. What's up, Brogu? Good to see you.
Brogu?
What's good to see you. So, but yeah, guys, if you guys have any questions for the Curly Ray while he's here, or any questions for me with regards to One Punch Dan, go ahead and put your comments or questions in the chat, because we are going to be wrapping this up. I don't want to keep the Curly Ray here all night. So the One Punch Dan universe is definitely coming, as well as 2 TV show spinoffs. That's actually getting the One Punch Dan is going to be a trilogy of movies. So Bat Dan, don't worry about your OCD. One Punch Dan will be a trilogy, and then it's going to have at least 2 spinoff TV shows, and then there's several ideas I'm kicking around for additional spinoff movies as well. So there's a lot going on. Yes, One Punch Dan does have a sidekick. In fact, Darth Plato, since you asked that question and you asked so nicely, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you something. I'm going to show you an animated music video. Now, keep in mind, this is animated based on, storyboards and concept art. This was before I started doing the live action. So it's going to look much cruder than the live action stuff that you've seen already tonight. But this is a little music video that centers around One Punch Dan's sidekick, his romantic interest, his better half. This is Pretty Punch. Check this out.
Never underestimate the power of Pretty Punch. I'm taking you down now.
Ella viene de la nada con fuerza de acero, una capa en el viento y un destino sincero. En el cielo se dibuja con su puño valiente, protege a todos los pueblos con su causa ardiente. Pretty Punch, ella es nuestra heroína, pelea sin miedo y nunca se rinde. Con destreza supera cualquier desafío, salva a los inocentes con un solo desvío. Cierra los ojos, siente su poder. Pretty Punch nos cuida, no hay nada que temer. Pretty Punch, ella es nuestra heroína, pelea sin miedo y nunca se rinde. Pretty Punch.
So that's the sidekick for One Punch Dan. That is Pretty Punch, and a lot of her and she'll be getting a live action teaser trailer coming up. I'm doing live action teaser trailers for all of the main characters in the One Punch Dan universe. So the first teaser trailer you're going to get is next Wednesday, that focuses solely on One Punch Dan. It's a 20-second teaser. And then after that, you're going to get subsequent teasers for all the main characters, Pretty Punch, Alpha Pass, Bishop, the Cordovan Speedster. All the main characters in the One Punch Dan universe will be featured. And so hopefully that answered your question, Darth Plato. And Sin Havoc wants to know, for the Curly Ray, what's the next video game you're playing on stream?
Well, I'm very glad you asked, in Havoc. There's a few games that I've got recently that I'm choosing through to which I need to play next. Sadly, I can't tell you at the moment. There is one title that I most likely will be playing, but for right now, I can't really tell you. I will probably let y'all know at a later date for right now, because like I said, I do need to get a capture card so that way I can record certain games that run through my PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch, because I'm going to be start playing games on those systems, because I plan to play Pokemon, and I can also plan to play some titles through my PlayStation 5, possibly just maybe Spider-Man 2 could be one of them. Now, for the very next game I'll be playing, I should be back in October. I'm not really sure what it'll be first, but I am glad you asked, in Havoc. I will let y'all know in the next few weeks, okay?
That's awesome. That is great. And Darth Plato has another One Punch Dan question. He wants to know, does One Punch Dan have a secret hideout like the Batcave? Well, I'm glad you asked. He has a headquarters that is kind of like, it's One Punch Dan HQ or One Punch HQ, and it's a headquarters kind of like, like the Hall of Justice or the Watchtower kind of a thing. In fact, I do have another 30-second animated scene that is still rendering in live action, but I do have a 30-second animated scene that I can share with you that'll give you kind of an idea of that. So let me go ahead and just run that really quick.
It's time to go.
Austin has an Isagay report. The plane is already prepped.
Austin is coming online now. Boot up sequence initiated.
I am online. Isagay is en route to Jay's headquarters in Central Pacific City. The One Punch plane is ready for takeoff. Scanning for anomalies. Please wait.
We may encounter some defense from Isagay's cyborgs.
So there you go. That's basically what we're dealing with. It's a headquarters. There's a, the good Austin is voicing the big computer, and you have APAS, who voices a character who kind of runs the control center, Alpha Pass, and she's also a field agent for One Punch Dan, and you'll see. So you're going to see a lot of action against Isagay and her cyborg army. She has a cyborg army of robots that are trying to invade and are doing an awful lot. And so that you'll get to see that in the movie. So if there's any other questions for the Curly Ray or to me with regards to One Punch Dan, I'll put it in there, or because we're going to wrap this up in in the next 5 minutes. Bishop says, y'all not ready, and I would have to agree. It is it's going to be different, to say the least. Other than that, what do you got coming up, the Curly Ray? What's coming up next for you, my friend?
Well, I believe what could be coming up next, I'll let you guys, I'm not sure when this will be, but I'm planning to start doing streams through StreamYard. And those first streams are possibly going to be Pokemon card unboxing. So for anyone that's, that loves those type of videos, I might be having those videos up every Tuesday if y'all want to check them out.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. Great. That's great to know. And as for me, I'm going to be busy working on One Punch Dan, the movie. That's what I'm primarily working on. I'll be doing more late night Q&As, of course. And as I said before, you guys are going to be getting the return of the ZodWriter show in September with me and a brand new co-host. So be looking out for that. That's coming. That is also coming up. Bat Dan says, I can't believe I will be a star without having to lift a finger. That you will. That you will. And thank you, Brogu. I appreciate it. I'm just looking forward to you guys seeing it, all the work that I'm putting into this movie. I'm just looking forward to you guys actually getting a chance to watch it. I've got some special things that I'm working on behind the scenes for all of you guys that I think you guys are going to really appreciate. One Punch Dan universe, multiple genres, one universe. Exactly. Sin Havoc, you get it. You totally understand. And wow. Well, you know what? I think that's about it. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's episode. Thank you, the Curly Ray, for being here. You know, you were a great guest. This was a lot of fun to talk to you and to kind of, you know, chop up different topics and you know, hear from you. And you're always fun to talk to, and you're always welcome, man. Anytime. You know, I look forward to whatever, you know, all the stuff you're going to do in the future. And I hope that you become that Rebel Moon Theory channel, because I would really, really, really love to see that, because I know it would take off for you. I know it would be, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, man, I really, you know, that's one of the biggest goals for my channel for right now. Even though I got these small things coming up, most of these series I'm doing right now have been really a test in the waters to see if I can really, you know, pull off with this channel. And as for what I've been doing so far, I believe the chances are, you know, increasing. So I really hope that I achieve my goal through there, and I'm going to, you know, continue working through that. And thank you very much, ZodWriter.
Of course, anytime. Thank you so much for being here. And to wrap this up, I'm going to go ahead and play the intro. For those who missed it, I'm going to go ahead and replay the intro from tonight's show where I introduced the Curly Ray, and we'll go ahead and play the intro for those of you who missed it. We'll wrap it up, and we'll see you later. And like Sin Havoc always says, sell is the way, and stay tuned. Good night, everybody.
Hiya, I'm Ren from one of Zod's failed AI music groups, Beanie Towns Marty. Tonight is episode 112 of Late Night Q&A, and Zod has the honor of welcoming TheCurlyRay to his panel. In honor of that, I'm going to grace you all with my band's version of The Twilight Zone, since nobody is watching it on YouTube. Enjoy it. Don't? I don't care. By the way, those Rebel Moon director's cuts are the shit.
Sirens in my head, my whole life spins into a frenzy. Somewhere in a lonely hotel room, there's a guy starting to realize that eternal fate has turned its back on him. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. The fear has gone. It's 2 a.m. The fear has gone. I'm sitting here waiting, the gun's still warm. I'm sitting here waiting, the gun's still warm. Maybe my connection is tired of taking chances. Yeah, there's a storm on the loose, sirens in my head. Wrapped up in silence, all circuits are dead. Cannot be gone, my whole life spins into a frenzy. Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cold. My victim's been moved, and the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. I'm falling down the spiral, destination unknown. Double cross messenger all alone. Can't get no connection, can't get through. Where are you? Well, the night weighs heavy on his guilty mind. This far from the borderline. When the hitman comes, he knows damn well he has been cheated. And he says, help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. Soon you will come to know when the bullet hits the bone. When the bullet hits the bone. Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Help, I'm stepping into Twilight Zone. Places a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved on the moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far?